Welcome back to the Deep Dive, coming to you straight from the Paddock Vault. We've been digging through, well, a mountain of sources, rumors, filings, the lot, all pointing to some serious engineering drama around the 2026 regs.
Oh, absolutely. It's the classic F1 cycle, isn't it? You give the engineers thousands of pages of new rules, and they immediately find the one or two gray areas.
And that's our mission today. We're unpacking the big engine loopholes that are already causing a massive stir before a wheel has even turned.
And it is all about the new power units. So if you enjoy this kind of technical deep dive, do make sure you follow the channel because you won't want to miss our updates.
Right. Let's jump straight into the biggest one. The main headache for the FIA, the new engine compression limits.
This is the big one.
So we know the 2026 rules mandate a pretty sharp drop from 18.1 down to 16.1. But the paddock is buzzing with allegations, isn't it, about Mercedes and Red Bull powertrains.
That they found a very sophisticated way to just negate that entire change.
So what's the mechanism? I mean, how are they allegedly exploiting this?
It's actually, quite clever. It all comes down to how the measurement is taken.
The scrutineering.
Exactly. The rules state that the 16.1 limit has to be verified only under ambient temperature.
So in cold, static conditions.
Precisely. And what rivals, your Honda, Ferrari, Audi, what they suspect is that Mercedes and RBP have deliberately engineered internal components.
You mean things like the pistons or the connecting rods?
Spot on. Using materials that rely heavily on thermal expansion.
Right. So when the engine gets up to those searing hot operating temperatures on track, those specific parts expand just enough to effectively shrink the combustion chamber.
And that pushes the compression ratio right back up towards that old 18.1 mark.
And what does that actually mean in terms of performance?
Well, to quantify that for you, the estimate suggests a gain of roughly 15 horsepower.
Wow.
And on a circuit like, say, Melbourne for the Australian GP, that could translate to, 0.3 to 0.4 seconds per lap.
That's a huge advantage.
It's massive. Which brings up the question, how did the FIA not see this coming? Relying on a cold test when thermal science is so predictable.
Well, that's the core of the tension, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because we know Mercedes, for their part, believe they're totally compliant.
Yes. They say they've had guarantees from the FIA that their interpretation of the static measurement rule is valid.
So the FIA is in a bit of a bind.
A huge one. They acknowledge that thermal expansion happens, but they've also confirmed that the rules, as written, only require the cold measurement. So now they're under extreme pressure to issue a clarification before Australia.
Because the power units are already homologated.
Exactly. Without clarity, you risk chaos. Teams protesting engines that have technically passed the only test required of them.
Okay, so moving on, that's not the only fire the FIA has been fighting, is it?
Not at all. There's a second, separate area they've already had to act on.
To do with the fuel system.
Yeah. For 2026, we're moving from a maximum mass flow, the old 100 kilograms per hour limit,
Right.
to a maximum fuel energy flow limit. It's a change needed for the new fully sustainable fuels.
And the concern was about the new standard flow meter, the Allinger one.
The worry was that teams could potentially alter the meter's temperature.
To do what exactly? To fool the reading.
To either change the fuel's composition slightly as it's being measured, or simply to manipulate the device itself.
And the initial FIA rule on this wasn't quite watertight enough.
Not really. It originally only forbade intentional heating or chilling.
Which leaves a lot of room for interpretation.
A huge amount. So they reacted quickly, thankfully. They've tightened the wording to forbid any device, system, or procedure whose purpose is to change the flow meter's temperature.
Closing off any manipulation that wasn't, strictly intentional. Much smarter.
And if you sort of connect these two issues, the compression trick and the meter tampering, they really highlight that eternal F1 conflict.
The letter of the rule versus the spirit of the rule.
Exactly. It forces you to ask the question, is using predictable physics to get around a cold test genius innovation? Or is it just blatant rule breaking?
A question I suspect is going to be answered very loudly on the track in Melbourne. Crikey, the engineering brilliance on show is always staggering, even when it's in these gray areas. If you've enjoyed this deep dive from the Paddock Vault, do give us a like and make sure you're subscribed. You will not want to miss our analysis when this compression ratio drama inevitably kicks off.